Good morning. It's Sunday, May 17th, and we're going to continue our discussion today on the subject of action with the prompt from the Daily Stoic, which is, am I on the path to progress? Now, when I hear this question, the immediate response is to answer it as a yes-no binary consideration. But that's never really the intent here, is it? I mean, I could reply simply, yes, I am on the path to progress, and just leave it at that. Or I could expand on it a bit and acknowledge some things that I believe to be true. Like, there is no ideal state or destination that we're actually going to achieve. Improvement isn't obtained through the wisdom found within books alone. It must be put into practice. The path to progress isn't linearly directed upwards. There will be some missteps along the way, but trajectory matters more than small fluctuations. You need to have goals in mind to know what you're working towards. The journey requires periodic self-reflection for us to check the map and ensure that we're still making progress towards our desired destination and that we haven't strayed too far from the path. The journey won't always be easy, and it can sometimes feel lonely if you let it. There are others who can accompany you on your path. Let them guide you when you feel lost, and similarly, guide them when they need direction. Real progress isn't made in a single transformative moment, but through the consistent application of minor modifications of our behavior. So, there are an unlimited amount of ways to expand on this metaphor of being on a path, and many of them are insightful and helpful in their own regard. However, when I always like to take a seemingly straightforward question, like today's, am I on a path to progress, and kind of spin it on its head. Ask it, what are you hiding in there? What do you want me to contemplate? What's not so obvious? And so for me, it goes back to another impactful realization that I had while reading the book Atomic Habits. For the last 3 years, I could answer today's prompt resolutely, more so than perhaps ever in my life, that yes, in fact, I was making progress. And then I read chapter 11, and all of that changed. I realized I had actually spent the last 3 years preparing for the journey, not actually making real progress. It's easy to get so focused on finding the optimal plan for change and the best path forward that we never actually take the actions. Clear refers to this as the difference between being in motion and being in action. Motion is all about planning and strategizing and learning. And while those are worthwhile and necessary activities, they don't actually produce results. It's kind of the equivalent of buying a map and getting a guidebook and filling your car's tank of gas, but not actually going anywhere. Action, however, is the kind of behavior that's capable of delivering an outcome. For example, I could read all the books that I wanted to on nutrition. I could understand all the various theories. I could even dip my toes in the water a little bit and experiment to see how it felt. But that's motion. It's not actually making real progress. Now, hiring a nutrition coach and working for the last 35 weeks every single day towards trying to achieve my results, now that's action. Clear asks us, well, if motion doesn't produce results, then why do we do it? Well, there's the obvious reason that sometimes it's because we actually do need to plan or learn more. And that was my justification. That's what I told myself. However, much more commonly, we stay in that state of motion because it allows us to feel like we're making progress without taking on any additional risk of failure. It's a safe place to be. We want to delay that risk of failure at all costs for as long as possible. And so it's easy to be in motion and to honestly believe like you're making progress. You do feel like you're getting things done. But really, you're just preparing to get things done. And as he warns us, when preparation becomes a form of procrastination, then we have to change something. We don't want to merely be planning. We need to be practicing. And once I read that, I realized that I had fooled myself. It was time to stop simply planning and actually get started. And that drove me to incorporate many of the concepts that we've been talking about here and to shift from being in a state of motion to one of action, where I truly, in fact, am on a path to progress rather than just getting prepared. Anyways, I hope you thought that concept of being in action versus being in motion was useful, and maybe you can apply that to the way that you're going about your activities. Have a great one. Bye.